Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, March 6, 2024. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. In an effort to address employment and unemployment issues here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Ministry of Labour held a job fair in Sanssouci on March 1, 2024. More than 300 young people reportedly showed up as staff of the Labour Department engaged them to look into issues they face. Minister of Labour Suboto Caesar pointed out that information gathered will be used to assist them to be gainfully employed, but that many were seeking advice on labour laws.
Young persons who are employed and may want to pursue studies, I am really happy thus far speaking to young entrepreneurs, and we intend, coming out of today's meeting, to be able next week and the months to come to have these young persons come in to us, because we are going to look at the information that they provided so that we can have job placements for them.
The youths were drawn from various communities on the windward side of the island. However, the Labour Minister said they will be taking the job fair to other areas.
It is important also to note that there are many young persons who are not yet ready, willing and able to leave where they are and to come to these meetings, and we are going to go into the highways and the byways after this setting, because we want no young person to be left behind.
The Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CARDI, was present on the ground to give career guidance and advice. CARDI representative in SVG, Donald Jackson, says there is a need for young people to get into agriculture, which should be encouraged.
It relates to crops and livestock, fisheries, and things of that sort of paramount importance. And persons and young people who have an inclination or a strong desire to do farming as a business, as a career option, that CARDI will like to assist in that regard, to provide them necessary technical training with the latest innovation and technologies to help them to become more successful and to become more productive in that sense, using the latest technologies available. So the option also available for the new technologies as relates to apps and drones and the whole thing with AI in agriculture. So the field of career options for young people are huge, but it's a matter of educating them and making them to become aware of the process.
Acting Prime Minister Montgomery Daniel has hailed the government of SVG for hosting successfully the 8th Summit of the Community of Latin America and the Caribbean CELAC. On the radio today, Minister Daniel said it was a welcoming moment for St. Vincent and Grenadines to host a number of world leaders who were here to plan for a better future for their people. However, what he considered to be most touching is the unity that was on display between the leaders.
I had the opportunity to have been at the airport, the Ariel International Airport, to welcome a number of these world leaders, which included, of course, the president of Mexico, President Maduro, the president of Cuba, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Smia Motley, the Prime Minister of Guyana, President Ali, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. All of these are persons, of course, I had the opportunity to welcome here in St. Vincent. But I considered it an honor to welcome the Secretary General of the United Nations here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Antonio Guterres. It's the first time that I've met him in person, and so he came in, of course, and he had quite a long meeting with the Prime Minister at the airport, including a press conference. And it was indeed, you know, a moment that I consider to be one of an honor and a privilege. And there and then, of course, I realized that St. Vincent and the Grenadines, its foreign policy would have borne a lot of fruits, not only for St. Vincent and the Grenadines as an independent nation, but of course for the wider Caribbean and the region as a whole. Of course, you have, as we would have seen, our foreign policy bringing a better unity among our peoples. We would have seen our foreign policy taking us to the United Nations, where St. Vincent and the Grenadines obtained the position of the chair to the Security Council. Our foreign policy would have seen us to be the chair of CELAC. Our foreign policy would have seen us where we would have had practical gains on the ground. The Argyle International Airport, of course, which was built by a lot of support through solidarity of our friendship, of a number of our friends and allies within the region.
Minister Daniel said the country has much to be thankful for in what it has gained through its foreign policy, and the CELAC summit held here last Friday at the new Sandals Resort is as a result of hard work and dedication to the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
But Johnny P., of course, I followed the meeting, of course, in its entirety, and from all reports, you know, the meeting was a tremendous success. The leaders themselves, of course, that attended meeting here, that the leaders at the meeting complimented the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the government as a whole for not only our hospitality here in St. Vincent, but even the outcome of the meeting. Of course, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, having obtained the chair of CELAC, established a secretariat to do the work over that year. And the secretariat did well. Their work was very impressive. And I want to thank the secretariat for their work. Of course, Johnny P., I can tell you that I attended 2 CELAC meetings since the establishment of CELAC in the region. And my last meeting at CELAC was in Mexico in 2020. And the level to which the meetings were conducted, they were really, those meetings, and even the last one was not even at the level of the one we had here in St. Vincent. And that is so, of course, because the input that was presented, the inputs that were presented at that time were not as touching on matters like what we have seen even in the outcome documents for the meeting here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And because of that, of course, the Prime Minister was complimented very much for the work that he would have done. And one of the touching issues, of course, to which he was complimented is to the extent of the intervention of that matter between Venezuela and Guyana.
Daniel, who is the area representative for the North Windward constituency, said he was happy that the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres took the decision to visit the area to see the recovery work from the impact of the La Soufrière volcano eruption in 2021. He noted that the UN was one of the international organizations which provided tremendous support to the red zone after the eruption of the volcano and assisted greatly with the recovery efforts.
Stayed at Rabacal, looked and to see what things were looking like. As a matter of fact, the Secretary General had with him the regional coordinator for the UN here in the Caribbean, Dr. Didier, who was here all along during the time of the eruption. And Didier was able to point out to him, of course, that there would have been great transformation as to what you're seeing now as against what transpired in 2021. You can no longer see those white rings that existed along the foothills of the La Soufrière volcano, because up to last year, those markings were still existing, though the vegetation was already coming back. But it was quite noticeable still that these white rings, they were looking like, you know, when you look at Mount Everest, you would see these white lines, snow lines, across the slopes going up. And La Soufrière volcano took on that kind of picture after the eruption of the La Soufrière volcano. And the markings were there up until last year. But the rainy season, of course, last year helped to increase the growth of the vegetation on the hills. And so those markings are now not so visible. And the Secretary General really wanted to see as much as possible what happened. And he went into as far as Sandy, not only to look at the housing improvement, but also to look at the measures to which this administration, this government would have taken in relation to climate change matters. Of course, as you're aware, we do have 2 major contracts in Sandy on the sea defense. Those 2 major contracts have already started, and the Secretary General was pleased to see the work that is being done there.
Sandals St. Vincent and the Grenadines says it has partnered with several local producers, giving them access and exposure to market and sell their products to significant numbers of foreign visitors once the resort at Bookament Bay opens on March 27th. A news release from the company says working alongside Invest SVG, several local manufacturers and artisans got a taste of what's to come when they were able to stage a mini expo of their goods and services on the resort during the recently held CELAC Heads of Government Summit. The company's public relations manager, Jamelia Soso Vincent, says in the news release that Vincentian entrepreneurs were able to display products to the delegates, with SVG's First Lady Eloise Gonzalez personally taking the spouses of several visiting heads of government to view the locally produced items. The release says Director of Export Marketing and Promotions at Invest SVG, Nadine Agar Juilliard, underscores what the partnership with Sandals means for local entrepreneurs, noting that it will boost their morale and marketing presence. The company says, in keeping with its commitment to work with local stakeholders, it will host a weekly local market showcase on the resort where artisans from SVG can display their products and be able to sell them to guests. It also says the locally manufactured products will be prominently displayed and available for sale in the resort's gift shop, Beach House. In other local news now, we hear that the Ministry of Agriculture continues to collaborate with India to use their expertise to further expand the local agriculture sector. At a recent meeting with an Indian government official, Minister of Agriculture Subodh Caesar said they are working on signing a memorandum of understanding for the agriculture sector.
We anticipate over the months to conclude an MOU with the government of India, where we will see coming to St. Vincent and the Grenadines several technicians specialized in areas definitely important for us to increase food production, food security, and food sovereignty here in our country. As we speak, we are seeing the unfolding of a very important project, the construction of the arrowroot factory in Orange Hill.
The Agriculture Minister noted that with the arrowroot factory soon to be completed, they expect to see a vast improvement in production.
Government of India to address issues of technical cooperation. As we are aware, India is blessed with significant human resource capacity as it pertains to technical in agriculture. And we have been working with the government and people of India for several years, and it is our intention to take cooperation to the next level.
A team of U.S. Air Force medical and support personnel are in the country for their first medical assistance engagements in St. Vincent and Grenadines. A news release says 34 active duty and reserve airmen traveled to St. Vincent in support of this year's Lesser Antilles Medical Assistance Team mission, where members will be working closely with their host nation counterparts to collaborate and hone skills through mutual training and education. Lieutenant Colonel Jessica Archila, Troop Commander, says their mission is unique, noting that the scope of their work is vast, but their focus is clear: to work together with their counterparts here in St. Vincent and Grenadines to ultimately provide needed care for patients. This is the first opportunity for the U.S. Southern Command directed medical team to collaborate and partner with St. Vincent medical professionals to deliver support and resources to the island nation and its healthcare system. This is a third medical assistance mission in the lineup for LAMT 2024, where teams having visited Suriname in February and was expected to wrap up operations in St. Lucia today. The fourth and final LAMT mission will be held in St. Kitts and Nevis. We hear that one firearm has been handed over to the authorities thus far under the National Firearms Amnesty. The amnesty came into effect on Friday, March 1st and will end on Friday, March 31st, 2024. In a telephone interview today with SVG-TV News, Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of crime, Trevor Bailey, said one illegal firearm was handed over on Saturday, March 2nd, 2024. ACP Bailey used the opportunity to further encourage members of the public who are in possession of illegal firearms, ammunition, or other accessories to hand them over to the authorities during the 92-day period of the National Firearms Amnesty, re-emphasizing that the amnesty is a no question asked, no prosecution.
First firearm was handed in on Saturday morning. To date, we have one firearm has been handed in since the amnesty has started. Handing the illegal firearms take full use of the opportunity for the amnesty period. Not only the firearms, but any ammunition or any component part of any firearm. And we're saying that if you do not wish to go to a police station or to hand it directly to the police, there are several agents. Lawyers, you can contact any lawyer, any justice of the peace, any head teacher, any person, any minister of religion, meaning the pastors, the preachers, the priests. You hand the weapon to them and they will contact us. The weapon that was handed over, to me. The process took less than 10 seconds. There's a no question asked, so there was no reason for me to verify any name, address, or anything in respect to the weapon. It was, thank you, appreciate, and the person left.
Persons are asked to surrender illegal firearms, ammunition directly to the police or a minister of religion, a head teacher, of firearm dealers, lawyers, parliamentarians, or a justice of the peace. The amnesty is the opportunity for persons who are in possession of illegal firearms or ammunition to avoid significant sentences and forms part of the RSVG police force strategy to get illegal firearms and ammunition off the streets, thereby clamping down on gun violence. The police have already indicated that most of the homicides recorded last year was by the way of guns. The 3 Grenadian escapees recaptured here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and implicated as prime suspects in the murder of 2 missing U.S. citizens are back in the custody of the Grenadian authorities after an order of deportation was made by Senior Magistrate Colin John at the Kingston Magistrate Court on Monday. We hear more in this report.
According to Christopher Nelson, Director of Public Prosecution, 30-year-old Ron Mitchell, 25-year-old Trevon Robertson, and 23-year-old Atiba Stanislaus arrived in Grenada on Monday afternoon, following a deportation order from the Kingston Magistrate Court early that day. The trio, now prime suspects in the disappearance and possible murder of 2 U.S. citizens, are currently in custody of the Royal Grenada Police Force.
The 3 suspects who were detained in St. Vincent have been deported by St. Vincent yesterday evening. They are now in Grenada and in custody of the Royal Grenada Police Force. The Criminal Investigation Department is actively continuing the investigations into the escape of the 3 persons and the disappearance of the yacht and the American couple who were on board. Those investigations are proceeding in a timely manner, and hopefully by sometime tomorrow we'll be able to give an update on the outcome and where we go from here. I am in contact with the police officers at every stage of the proceedings.
Nelson stated that evidence gathered by the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force has been transferred to the RGPF. The catamaran owned by the missing couple remains on the neighboring island.
No, some of the exhibits, I'm advised, came down along with the suspect. The yacht, based on my present information, is still in St. Vincent. At some stage it will be, because if well, St. Vincent have deported, so they have no criminal jurisdiction in relation to this matter at the moment. The guys are here, and certainly the criminal enterprise began in Grenada with this yacht, because the yacht was confirmed to have been in Grenada territory.
The escapees are expected to appear in the St. George's Magistrate Court soon, said the DPP.
You can expect them in court Thursday earliest. The investigation is fairly detailed and involved, and as you're aware, is cross-jurisdiction. We are gathering, collecting, receiving evidence, both locally and from St. Vincent. We have to process, review, examine that, and put things in order before we make any further move.
Prior to their escape, the trio faced serious charges including robbery with violence, rape, and now possibly murder.
In other local news now, we hear that Dr. J.P. Eustace is a good candidate for the award of National Hero in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The suggestion comes from lawyer Luke Brown, who on the ULP Speaks Up radio program last evening said Dr. John Eustace opened 3 major secondary schools in SVG at a tender age of 23, and that he has done phenomenal work in relation to education and other areas of nation building.
In the intermediate school in 1926, now known as the Intermediate High School, he opened the Emmanuel High School Kingstown in 1952. He opened the Emmanuel High School Mesopotamia in 1963. So by 1963, he had 3 secondary schools up and running, and the government only had 2. Could you imagine the situation where one man had more secondary schools in this country than the government? And a situation where his secondary schools were larger than the secondary schools that were established by the government? This man, to me, has done such great work for education and in other areas. I'm not even talking about the fact that he was an eye specialist or an eye doctor, an optometrist and an optician, and he did excellent work in those areas as well. And the fact that he was a religious leader of the Christian Brethren movement and did excellent work in that capacity as well. I mean, he was a multifaceted figure with an all-round impact on the fortunes and fate of Vincentians from all walks of life. But just think about what he did in relation to secondary schools in this country and the way in which he basically therefore enhanced the fortunes of Vincentians all over this place who are indebted to him up to today.
Dr. Eustace was also an eye specialist and a minister of religion. Cultural officer in the Ministry of Culture, Maxine Brown, has applauded the Honduras delegation who visit SVG for the CELAC Summit and who made the effort and time to impart knowledge of their ancestors with the Vincentian public. Brown said she feels more confident that St. Vincent and the Grenadines will revive its lost culture of the Garifuna and Kalinago people.
They have come because, you know, we are now trying to retrieve our history, our story, our Garifuna story. And they have come and look at what they have injected in this little presentation. They brought the culture, mainly culture. They have dancers, there were speeches, and they too have attested to the fact that Garifuna is strong, the Garifuna heritage is alive, and together we can forge further collaborations to uplift and retrieve and recover our Garifuna heritage. I'm glad they have come. Viva San Vicente y las Grenadinas.
Brown said that paying tribute to Paramount Chief Joseph Chartier is even more significant, not only for the Hondurans, but Vincentians.
The Hondurans, who perhaps are Garinagu, chose to come to the obelisk to pay homage to our right excellent Paramount Chief Joseph Chartier. Now CELAC is all about collaboration, and I'm happy that they were able to come here today and pay just due to our ancestors, the Garinagu, specifically Joseph Chartier, Haile Chartier.
Noting that the Garifuna heritage is a shared bond amongst the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines, or Urame, and the Garifuna descendants worldwide. Coordinator of the National Schools Garifuna Folk Festival, Claydonna Peters, has emphasized the importance to cherish such an important aspect of our heritage. Peters was at the time delivering remarks at the opening of the festival held at the Victoria Park under the theme Children of Châteauguay, Fruits of Our Heritage. She said such activity is one way of inculcating the preservation of the Garifuna culture and heritage among the people, especially among the youths. And the representative of the Ministry of Education, Nashaki Samuel, said the festival provides opportunities for the youths to develop their self-confidence as they demonstrate their knowledge and creativity using various forms of expressions.
These opportunities are intended to foster national pride among our generations, in our respective schools, in our communities. In addition, the activities are geared towards increasing knowledge of the local history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, particularly Joseph Châteauguay and Garifuna. Be reminded that March is considered Heritage Month, therefore we must be mindful of and celebrate the efforts and contributions made by our lone national hero, Joseph Châteauguay and the Garifuna. Let us appreciate their legacy as much as we can. Their contributions remain remarkable in our heritage, and we must preserve them in the culture of our generation and that of our future generations. Today's activities are geared towards motivating you to become creative, develop critical thinking skills, analytical skills, as well as your abilities to interpret historical data and formulate your own inferences. The items which you have prepared here are a reflection of this. Teachers, we commend you for your commitment despite the challenges. We are aware of the challenges faced in the area of social sciences for various reasons. It is in these areas students develop a profound understanding of their environment, culture, and the event, and all that is happening around them. We must teach them and encourage them early in their lives about these things so that they will grow and develop in their historical awareness and appreciation.